Hey Amarillo, I'm Skylar Gallup, and you're listening to Hey Amarillo, the interview podcast featuring some of the most interesting people and stories of Amarillo, Texas. We record every week at Amarillo College's Innovation Outpost. The IO supports education, workforce development, and industry growth by inspiring and facilitating innovation in the Texas Panhandle. Today's guest is Sonya Letson. Sonya cares about justice and about the health of our society and democracy, and that's present in all the roles, positions, and titles she's held. From 3 terms elected as Potter County Attorney, to municipal court judge and assistant DA in her service at the League of Women Voters, and today as Democratic chair of Armstrong County. Sonya seems to take a pragmatic view of law, accepting what is so and working within the flexibilities afforded to her by the law to do what's right. What is clear is that Sonya holds our democracy and its systems in high regard, so much so she's committed her life's work in honor and preservation of it. And I think the way she talks about it is pretty cool. Here's Sonya. Sonya Letson, welcome to the Hey Amarillo podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Happy to have you. Let's begin with the beginning, shall we?
All right.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Houston. Born in Houston and grew up there. When I was 14, we moved out in the country north of Houston. So Houston, and that was closest to a town called Tomball. But at that time, it was in the middle of nowhere. So I grew up partly in the city and partly in the country.
Yeah, Tomball is dang near Houston proper these days.
Yes, it's all grown together around there.
It has. Why did you guys move out of the city?
I think there were 2 reasons. One is my mom grew up in the country in East Texas. She grew up on a small family farm. They raised cotton, peanuts. She grew up picking cotton, and I think she wanted back in the country. I think the other thing was our parents wanted us out of the city and its influences at that time. So this was during the 60s. You know, we moved out in the country when I was 14, so that would have been right there around 1970. And so
it was a tumultuous time.
It was a tumultuous time, and I think they thought, well, take these kids and live in the country. So my dad, who was a manager of a car dealership, he drove from near Tomball to the south side of Houston every day.
Wow.
While we lived out in the country, which was very hard on him, I think. But they thought it was worth it.
Do you have siblings?
I had a brother. I have 2 sisters. And so the 4 of us were living out there in the country. I'm the oldest of the 4 and still very close with my sisters.
Nice. And so when you say in the country, was this just like a house in the country, or is it like a proper farm?
There were 14 acres. There was no farming.
Okay.
It was a place where I could have a horse because I always wanted a horse. So we had 2 horses.
Aww.
And we roamed the countryside. It was mainly farming and small ranches, little bits of cattle, that kind of thing. And so we would roam the countryside and just entertain ourselves till dark every day.
Perfect.
It was perfect. It was perfect. I loved, at the time, my mom, who loved the country, spent all her day outside clearing brush, doing things like that. She made the place beautiful. And I thought, why does anybody want to do this? You know, because I was a
14
teenager.
years old, yeah.
And so I was contrary. Now, that's the same kind of thing that I love.
Funny how that happens.
It is.
What did you do after high school?
After high school, I started college at UT in Austin.
Oh, cool.
I majored in art.
Art.
And after about a year, a little over a year, as an art student, I had a very kind professor who said, Ms. Letson, you're going to starve to death. And so I recommend that you find another profession. And
the hard truths.
It was the hard truth, but so, I mean, how gracious to go ahead and say it. And
sure.
Save you the money, your parents the money, your mother the money. And and you the trouble. So the only other thing I loved was detective stories.
Oh.
Sherlock Holmes, everything akin to it. And I thought, well, I can't be an artist. I will learn criminal justice.
Interesting.
So I transferred over to Sam Houston State in Huntsville. And Huntsville, of course, is known for a lot of things, but one of them is a wonderful criminal justice school. And I had a great education there. So when I got to the end of that college education in the last semester and had my guidance counselor interview, they said, lots of good options for you: police officer, probation officer, parole officer, prison work, lots of things. Trouble being, I can't run. I don't see well. I thought, I can't be a police officer. I'm just not cut out for it. What am I going to do with this degree?
Sure.
But I had a professor who had come from Egypt. He had been the chief of police in Cairo.
Oh, wow.
Egypt. And he was teaching at Sam Houston State.
How interesting.
And he and I had a conversation, and he said, you know what? I think you could go on to law school, and that would be a good use of your degree. And so I had not known any attorneys. We didn't have any attorneys in our family. Mm-hmm. But I told my mom. It was just my mom at that time. My dad had passed away when I was 16. So I told my mom, I think I want to go to law school. And she said, I'll make it happen. My mom had wanted to go to college and never got to. She, as I say, grew up on the farm, graduated high school at 16, came to the big city of Houston, where she lived with her sister and met my dad at the car dealership where he was working. They married. She immediately, within a year, had me and then 3 more kids. So when he passed away, she had not worked for 17 years. And she took a job as a teacher's aide at an elementary school. She made minimum wage. That was in the Tomball School District. She was adamant all 4 of her kids would go to college. And all 4 did, and all 3 of the 4 got a graduate degree. She made it possible for all 4. And it's really a testament to her that the 4 of us were able to do what we did. Her and my dad, of course. I give them all credit. But without her perseverance and her saving and her encouragement, it's just hard a lot of times for kids to find the desire and the means to go. But she made sure we all went. So that's where I headed after college.
I do want to ask, though, I'm thinking about the determination and perseverance and the savings that you've just described that your mom, was just dedicated to for you guys. Did she have an opinion about you going to UT for art?
She never discouraged any of us.
Wow.
From following what we thought we wanted to do. So if she had reservations about me being an art major, she did not express them. I think maybe in her heart, she probably thought, not that I couldn't draw, I could draw, but I was never going to make a living at art.
Yeah.
But I don't remember her ever saying, Sonya, you need to do something that will pay the bills. She just wanted us to have an education. I think she trusted the rest would follow.
That's great. Because she also could have said, I haven't been, killing myself and saving all this money for you to go get an art
artist and starve that way.
That's lovely. Okay, so you've talked to the Egyptian police chief, and he's encouraged you to go to law school.
That's right. He did. He encouraged me to go to law school. I had no idea what that would involve. And yet, with Mom's assistance, off I went. And it's just such a great experience. It's amazing how much you learn going through that. And we had people of all kinds there.
What law school?
University of Texas. Okay. So I was back in Austin.
So back in Austin. Cool.
And I was living in a ratty little apartment.
As you should.
Anderson Lane, as you should,
Perfect,
when you're
perfect.
one of 4 kids whose mother's putting you through school. And in our class, we had all kinds of people. We had a gentleman who was in his 60s, who was starting law school. We had a nun who had decided to change careers and go to law school. There were all kinds of people, and we had just a wonderful class. In fact, we still email together and keep up
Neat.
with our fellow students from those years.
Was this, early 80s?
This was early 80s.
Early 80s.
Well, I started in 79.
Okay,
Graduated in 82.
Cool.
So it was a wonderful, interesting time. But the best thing about law school was that's where I met Tad.
Ah, there you go.
So Tad started law school the same year I did. He had gone to A&M, and then he stayed out of work a year and worked for a seed company in Hereford, because his degree was in agriculture, agronomy.
Was he from up here?
He was.
Okay.
He grew up in Amarillo.
There it is.
But he worked at that seed company for a year, loading 50-pound bags onto trucks, and after a year he thought, I'm not sure this is what I want to do. And he started law school at the same time. So he sat in front of me, big auditorium seating, as you can picture.
Sure.
100 people in a section. By the end of the first year, we had gone on a date. And then we married in law school. So we married during our 3rd year.
I see.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know that. I didn't know that story.
You know, he is really my anchor, and we've been together through all these experiences. Law school was harder for me. He loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was never much of a public speaker.
Okay.
And so we were expected to be in law school. You were called on. And I sat next to, we were in alphabetical order, I sat next to Greg Lehrman and Letson. Greg and I were both shy. And so we would work ourselves into a frenzy by saying, the professor's looking at us. I think he's going to call on us. Now Greg is married to Deborah Lehrman, who's on the Texas Supreme Court.
Nice.
And they both have both had wonderful legal careers.
Wonderful.
So we've had wonderful friends from law school, and that was one of those things that develops your character and your ability to think well. And I know not all kids should or can go to college, but higher education of some sort benefits everybody. And I just think the more you can educate yourselves, go through formal types of schooling, the better able you are to navigate the world.
Yeah, you know, I think about the challenges that our higher education system finds themselves in around its affordability or lack thereof. And I worry that one of the most negative consequences of that are that people are making the wise decision not to go to college because it doesn't make financial sense, and are losing out on the broader benefit of higher education. And not just to get you a degree to make money, but to teach you how to think, that stuff.
I think that's exactly right.
Civics education, this whole, take a random art class, like I took ballet, I am no ballerina. But I worry that because it too often is smarter not to graduate with X thousands of student loan debt, that people are missing out on a bigger education.
I agree. And I think we've got to figure out how can we fund higher education or technical training if that is really what a child wants to do. We have to figure out how do we fund that so that everybody has that opportunity.
Yeah. What kind of law did you hone in on?
Criminal
law?
Of course, because I love detective stories, and I thought this is the fascinating part for me.
Yeah.
It's criminal law. And so when we got to Amarillo after law school, I didn't have a job lined up, but Tad did. And that, of course,
what kind of law was he practicing?
Civil.
Okay.
So he, for the most part, his whole career, he worked in civil practice and loved it. He also did a lot of mediation practice, which is helping people solve their disputes, and loved that too. I wanted to do criminal. I started with criminal defense work. I had a wonderful mentor in an attorney named Kathy Dodson here in Amarillo. And she and I just had a wonderful time together, but I eventually was invited to join the county attorney's office and became an assistant county attorney.
Potter?
In Potter for Bill Bauman. And Bill was county attorney at that time, and that's how I started my career. For a few years before that, though, I taught at Amarillo College. I taught business law and criminal justice classes before I took that county attorney job, and also worked with Tad's uncles, Arthur D. Miller, who are attorneys still at 92.
Wow.
Practicing here in Amarillo. And their practice was civil. So I learned some things from them, learned from Kathy, learned from teaching college.
Sure.
That will make you learn a lot of things if you have to teach something. And so I loved that also, but then started at the county attorney's office.
What position did you take?
Assistant county attorney.
Okay. What's that work? What are you doing?
You're prosecuting misdemeanor cases. Some assistant county attorneys handle juvenile cases. Others handle family cases, like child protective service cases. There are some civil county attorneys as well. And so you're doing all kinds of different legal work. You're not doing felonies in Potter County because there's a district attorney's office.
Okay.
So in some counties like Randall, there's a combined office where misdemeanors and felonies are all handled. But in Potter and many other counties, they're separated. So we did, however, occasionally try felonies. One of my first cases when I had been there less than a year was a double homicide.
Wow.
That the district attorney had been recused on. And so we learned a lot about how do you try a murder case now. But for the most part, it was misdemeanors. DWI, family violence assault, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was a great career, a great introduction to life. Every day is interesting. The best thing I think about being a prosecutor is you're charged with seeing that justice is done. You're not there to convict people, unless that is what justice requires. If there's a case where someone should not be prosecuted or convicted, then you have the ability to make sure that happens. Your duty is to see that justice is done. And that is a wonderful role for an attorney, because you would like to think that's always what you're after. But in many positions, you're hired for a certain purpose. Your job is to see that the interests of that party are represented. The prosecutor does have that liberty of looking at all sides, I think, and saying, I'm going to do exactly what should be done for justice to be served.
That's quite a hefty responsibility.
It is an important
Upholding
job.
the judicial system in the United States of America, you know?
It is. It's a very important job. And I'm pleased and proud that we elect our county and district attorneys. They were elected by their citizens who place their trust in them to see that the right things happen. And so after I had worked as assistant county attorney for a little over 4 years, I guess it was close to 5, I ran for county attorney. And just like going to law school, I didn't know a single thing about running for office. But I thought, I think this is what I want to do. So I ran for county attorney. I had an opponent, a worthy opponent from the DA's office who also ran.
That doesn't always happen. They're not always like highly contested elections at that level.
They're not always opposed.
Yeah.
Especially if you have been in office and you're the incumbent.
If
you are doing a good job. You know, and the politics in a region are a certain way, then you may not get an opponent. But this seat was going to be open.
Oh, cool. That's fun.
So we had a contested race. It was in the primary. It was in the Democratic primary in 1992. So this is the same year that George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton are running. And what an exciting time politically, of course. And So we had that short primary election from the time you file in December or so to the primary in March, not very long period. And I was absolutely privileged and blessed to have been elected in that race. And then had 2 more elections after that. So the politics in Amarillo had changed at that time, so that it became harder to win a race as a Democrat.
Sure.
But I was able to do that for 3 different elections. And what that means is that people would cross over to vote for someone of a different party.
That's right, which is hard to get people to do.
It seems less common nowadays.
Sure.
It still happens, and I think if my hopes and desires, my dreams come true, it'll be more common when people feel like they can. I think that you need 2 good parties and you need good candidates in both.
Yeah.
And I think if you have good candidates in both parties, you have the ability to say, you know what, the candidate for my party is not connecting with my view of how things should go. And the other guy or the other gal seems reasonable to me. And so I do hope that is something people feel like they can do.
Yeah, 2 good candidates across the ticket are pretty important.
I think we're lacking that right now in certain areas of the state and the country. And I think if you don't have 2 strong parties and good candidates, you become polarized. You have the extreme of views on either side.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So you are elected to Potter County Judge.
Potter County Attorney.
Attorney, excuse me.
Yes. So the Potter County Judge, who right now is Nancy Tanner.
Yeah.
The Potter County Judge is a judge for certain matters, probate matters, for example, but mainly it has an administrative role. And the Potter County Attorney and the 47th District Attorney are the attorneys that represent the county.
Okay.
The 47th District Attorney handles the felonies, and the Potter County Attorney represents the county in civil cases, misdemeanors, family law cases, juvenile cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long were you seated in that position?
So I was county attorney 12 years, which is 3 terms.
Were you the first female county attorney?
No, that was Naomi Harney.
Naomi Harney, okay.
Naomi Harney was a force of nature, absolutely. Later became a district judge and an amazingly interesting person. And by all accounts, a good judge.
Oh, nice.
She was the first county attorney.
I see.
It was a female. At the time I was serving, we also had a female district attorney, Rebecca King.
Amarillo tends to elect female leaders.
We always recognized that from the first election. We saw that people were willing to give women a chance to run for and hold office. And my husband and I would remark on that all the time about how, people do feel comfortable with that here. And that, I think, is one of the wonderful things about Amarillo and the Panhandle. I think people have an appreciation for strong female leaders.
Yeah.
We now, of course, live in Armstrong County, and our new mayor is a woman, the first woman for Claude as mayor, Twyla Baldwin. And I think our sheriff there is a woman, Melissa Anderson. I mean, I think
cool.
I think in the Panhandle there is an ability to see women in roles of leadership.
I think more so, and I invite your insight, I think more so than other areas. Maybe not all other areas.
I've only lived in Houston, Austin, and the Panhandle. So I feel constrained to answer that. The county judge in Harris County, which is enormous, is a woman. And so I think, I don't know the answer, really.
Sure.
I just know that here, it does seem like there is a willingness. The county judges in both Potter and Randall are women.
That's right.
And so, yeah.
There you go. What did you love about that work, being county attorney?
I loved being able to represent the county in all its aspects. And I loved working with law enforcement. I loved working with the police department and the sheriff's department, I have a great respect and affinity for law enforcement officers. And
where does that come from?
I did not have any law enforcement officers in my background growing up. I think, if you grow up with a love of detective stories, criminal justice stories, I want the good guys to win. I want the bad guys to be found out. I want justice to be done.
You care about justice. How interesting.
Justice.
Right,
so
right.
I think it must be that, but I didn't have any role models or connections that would have led to it. So I have great respect for law enforcement officers.
And as county attorney, what is that relationship? What does the work look like when you're interfacing with police or sheriff's departments?
You are not on the same team in the way that you think of that, because you have to be able to say, Detective Smith, your case has holes in it. I mean, you don't have a witness statement from this person. You need to go back and get that, or here's all the evidence you're presenting me. I don't think there's a crime. And that sometimes is a tense conversation, and so you both want to see justice done. Sometimes the prosecutor will not agree with what the police wants to see happen, and vice versa is also true. But at the end of the day, there has to be that working respect where we've done our best, we've thought it through, and it's not anything personal. It is, we have to be able to prove this case in court, and so I have to have certain evidence. And while I may agree with you, this person is not a good person, deserves to be off the street, this case won't let us get there.
Mm-hmm.
But in all the time I was there, from being assistant all the way through county attorney and afterward at the DA's office for 3 years, I always had a good working relationship with law enforcement.
Talk about moving over to the district attorney's office.
I needed 2 years to be able to vest for my retirement.
Okay.
At the time I decided I was not going to run for office again. Did not want to go through another contested campaign.
Did they get icky?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, they're contentious, they're time-consuming, they're expensive, they're exhausting. And the first campaign I had was only contested in the primary, very short period of time. The other two were contested in the general, so you're campaigning for a year or more.
Right.
And you're doing that while you're working your full-time job. So campaigning for election for any public office is very time-consuming and exhausting. And after the third one, I thought, I really don't want to do that again. But I can't retire from the county unless I have a little more time.
Okay.
Randall Sims was the DA at that time. And Randall had worked for me when I was county attorney. He had worked a little while in my office for me, and then he hired me to the DA's office.
That's fun.
I worked 3 more years. So that was so gracious of him. I loved working in the DA's office and the people over there. And I did some of the felony areas that nobody else really, they were not very exciting cases. I did welfare fraud.
Oh.
I did things like that.
Okay.
For a few years. And then I decided I'm ready to retire. That would have been in, I guess in 2018, I was ready to retire for good. But I got an invitation.
And all this while, what's Tad doing? And what's family situation? Where are you at?
Where are we doing? Tad had his own practice after he left the law firm that he first started with. And he was in practice, officed with his uncles, Oth and Dee, for a while. And then he had his own practice, and he also had a mediation practice at that time. But in the last 6 years, as he was winding up his mediation and thinking, I want to do something different, he went to the county attorney's office.
Oh.
And he became first assistant county attorney. So he did the civil work for the county attorney's office that Scott Brumley, the current county attorney, had done when I was county attorney. It would just worked out so wonderfully for Tad, and he enjoyed doing that.
Nice.
And then he retired from the county attorney's office. Okay. A couple of years, 2 or 3 years after I finally retired.
Okay.
From city court. Because I went to city court after the district attorney's office.
And talk about your work at the city court.
I was an assistant municipal court judge and then became presiding municipal court judge. I was there 10 years. Donna Clayton was the city judge when I was hired and worked as an associate judge for her for that period and loved that. City court is just criminal law, but it's all fun. You think of night court, it's not that funny. If you ever saw the old show Night Court, it's not that funny, but it is funny a lot of times. It's low pressure, low key, but still super important to the people.
What kind of stuff are you doing?
Traffic, minor assault, public intoxication, shoplifting, animals running loose, too many chickens. Everything. Everything that is a fine-only offense. Class C misdemeanor. So super entertaining, huge volume. You have a lot of people. We used to try 6 to 8 jury trials in a single day.
Jeez.
We'd use the same panel and pick from it for each trial. So jurors would serve on more than one case in a day. And we would take care of everybody's minor things. Now, to you and I, getting a traffic ticket might not be that big a deal, but in certain situations, that's extremely important to that person.
Yeah.
Or some other, like a simple assault case is also very important to the victim of that case and to the person accused. And so, although they were minor cases, they were important for somebody to handle. And
you just never know.
You just never know. It's, I really enjoyed that time. That was very interesting, and it was more fun than pressure. And no running for office.
Yeah. One of my favorite type of people to know and to talk to are people that have found themselves in that sort of like front seat to all kinds of humanity people. And I feel like that might be at play at city court.
I'll tell you the one case that I like to recount because it just summarizes the absurdity of some cases. And it was a young woman who looked like Reese Witherspoon in Legally Blonde when she came in. She was gorgeous, perfectly dressed. She was charged with animal at large.
Okay. And
I called her up to the bench. The courtroom's full of people. The bailiff is standing there. And I said, Miss So-and-so, you're charged with animal at large. She said, that's what I don't understand. And she pulled a picture out of her purse and handed it to me. It was a picture of her dog. She said, as you can see in the picture, my dog is really small.
Oh, okay.
And I said, I did not laugh. I said, yes, I see that. But what the meaning of animal at large is that it's that the animal is running loose. She said, oh, then I'm guilty.
Oh.
So, and that was just one of probably hundreds of examples that you just, I love every part of it. I love the humanity of, we can all be in trouble from at some time or another, and we all need grace, and we just need a little bit of understanding. And then sometimes other people do things really bad, and they need to go to prison. But city court was not that. City court was, we need to get you through this ticket that you have in the best way possible.
It's interesting. How much leeway do you have?
There's a fine range. So, you have, in most traffic cases, $1 to $200. So you have some leeway there. You also can do a community service option. Somebody doesn't have any money, but they'd like to do some community service. You can do that. You have the ability to ask the prosecutor, do you think this case should be dismissed? The prosecutor decides whether to move for dismissal of a case. And that's true for higher cases as well. Mm-hmm. So is this a case should be dismissed, or do you really want to take it to trial? So you have, as a judge, you have leeway. But as in higher crimes, it's really in sentencing that you have leeway, and not so much as does the case go to trial.
Mm. In that leeway comes a lot of responsibility and a lot of maybe room for error, no?
That's why there are courts of appeals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from municipal court, you're appealing to county court at law. From district court, you're appealing to courts of appeals. There's always an appeal. There's always a way to challenge until there's not. There's a final court at some point in the state, in the country.
Yeah. How do you think about any time in your career with a case or a situation that you may have identified that you made a mistake, perhaps?
I think that you can find yourself having decided to pursue something that as you get in the middle of trial, you may think, I've learned some new things, and maybe this was not the case I thought it was. That certainly is possible. The thing about a prosecutor, though, is let's say, for example, because this came up just the other day with a candidate who's running for Court of Criminal Appeals, who works at a DA's office downstate. She told me that she was assigned to her office's department for reviewing claims of actual innocence. There's been a mistake in my trial, I'm actually innocent. And she was assigned to that for her DA's office, and she found that there had been some errors. And so what she's able to do, what every prosecutor is able to do, is you're able to say, hey, we made a mistake, Judge. We think this case should be reopened, or we think this case should be dismissed, or whatever it is. So if you learn of a mistake, you're able to take steps to do something about it. Sometimes you don't learn of a mistake until you're in the middle of trial. But if you discovered something, you could move to dismiss in the middle of trial. So that's one of the great things about being a prosecutor is you try to do your best. Mistakes do happen. But you have the power ultimately to say, I'm going to try to rectify it.
How long were you at city court?
10 years.
Yeah.
Yep. 5 as an assistant and 5 as presiding. It was a great role. I loved it very much.
I grew up watching Judge Wapner's court.
Yes. Yes.
I think about Judge Letson's court.
That's right.
That sounds very fun.
And loved all those judges that I've practiced with. Some still there, and one has gone to the Canyon City Court. All great people.
Yeah.
Work really hard, try to do a good job.
And then what?
And then I thought, now I am really retired, 2018.
Okay.
But the League of Women Voters came calling. And that was Jeanette Kelly, who passed away recently. Jeanette was a president of the League more than once. And she said, Sonya, we need a president of the League, and I think you can do it. I said, no, I'm retiring. But Jeanette was a persistent person, very capable, and she said, I think you can do this. And so, of course, I did do it, and I loved it. I loved the League of Women Voters, so I did 2 terms there.
What does the League do?
The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan grassroots organization that tries to encourage people to vote and be educated about what they're voting on. So among the things that the League does, most importantly, are we produce a voter's guide that goes out all over Amarillo, 10,000 copies in an ordinary election, sometimes more, will go out so people can read what the candidates say in their own words. And the League also presents candidate forums, does voter registration. One of the best things that happened was our high school voter registration effort developed while I was working on the league board, and Jamie Cowart, who's a Randall County resident, has really spearheaded that. So we go into almost all the high schools in the Potter-Randall areas and some outlying counties like Deaf Smith, Donnelly, and we go and register their students twice a year. Because, as you know, there's elections generally twice a year, November, and then in the spring, May or March, and students turn 18 all through the year. So we go twice a year and get those students registered. I am super proud of the work the league does. I think it's a great organization. We have had both Republicans and Democrats and independents while I have been involved with the league. People just believe in the power of education and the power of voting.
Where did your passion for that work develop?
Probably from being in an elected office, I would guess. I remember voting for the first time when I had turned 18. It was the Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter election. I can remember standing in line. Now, why? I had just started at UT. I was an art major. Why was I standing in line to vote? I don't remember the answer to that. Mom took me to the polling place with her more than once.
Cool.
So I do remember that. And then I just remember thinking, this is what you do. You vote. You always vote. No matter what. You have to vote. In fact, this is the way the country runs. And that, I would hope, is what we can get back to. We have a lot of registered voters who never bother to vote. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have a say in their city government, their county government, and their national government. I think if everyone would vote and take ownership, have a stake in the outcome, that would be the best thing for us. So the league does that promotion work. And I think people get distracted, they get anxious, they get overwhelmed, and they get discouraged with all that goes on in society now. Mm-hmm. And they think my vote doesn't matter, mm-hmm. Nothing's going to change or nothing's going to improve. And we've seen over the course of our country's history, that's not true. If people are engaged, things can improve, things can be changed. And to be disengaged means a very small number of people decide our direction. And so I think the league is invaluable to any community. I'm very proud Amarillo has a strong League of Women Voters.
Yeah. And a really storied history the league does nationally.
Yes.
In nonpartisan grassroots civics work.
The League of Women Voters of Amarillo will be 75 years old in October. And they are going to have a 75th anniversary celebration. The League of Women Voters in the United States is over 100 years old. And we forget, or many of us may not know, that change is sometimes slow. Women started to work for the right to vote in 1848. That was before the Civil War. And they did not gain it until 1920. So it was 72 years that it took. And it took all kinds of work. There were factions of the suffrage movement that believed in just dialogue and very peaceful requesting, lobbying. And there were factions of the suffrage movement that chained themselves to the fence around the White House, went on hunger strikes, went to jail, and were beaten. And so it sometimes takes a long time to effect a change or a course correction. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I think is so worrisome right now is some dialogue that women shouldn't be voting. I think when we decide that certain people in our society shouldn't have the rights and the abilities and the protections of others in our society, that is a backward trend. And so I think we need to see that everybody votes and everybody maintains their right to vote by exercising it.
Yeah, that's the thing with rights. You got to keep your foot on the gas.
Yeah, that's the thing with rights. If you don't exercise them, then you lose them. We're in a tumultuous time, no question about it. I think that there's a lot more love and there's a lot more tolerance than we realize from our social media feeds.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more people who love their neighbors. As your sign indicates, 2 words in your Hey Amarillo logo, love and neighbor. I think that's the key. If you love your neighbor, you want the best for them, you want them to participate, you want their safety, you want their prosperity and opportunity. And I just think that most of us feel that way.
And I think Amarillo has a lot of that.
I do too. And the Panhandle.
Yes.
I think the Panhandle is a magical place. I didn't grow up here, but I love it here now. I love to go back to Houston and visit, and Houston's a great town, but the Panhandle has a magic to it. And the people in the Panhandle have certain expansion of spirit that I think is maybe unique to us. But certainly we're all blessed to live in a place where you can never meet a stranger, really. You can find something in common with all these folks that you would run across.
Get ready for more electrifying music from the Amarillo Symphony. In October, they'll be performing the very dramatic piece that we've all heard in the movies called Symphonie Fantastique, and will also feature the Lubbock native Fiona Shea on violin. In November, they'll take us on a cosmic journey with Holst's The Planets, with singers from WT and Canyon High School, followed in December by the beloved Happy Holiday Pops concerts featuring Annika Spalding from the Little Theater. With performances throughout the year, there's always an exciting experience waiting for you. Don't miss a single note. Visit amarillosymphony.org for tickets. Okay, I'm back with Sonya Letson. Sonya, this is the part of the show I call 8 Straight. I've got 8 pretty straightforward questions. Excited to hear your responses. Ready?
Ready.
Cool. When you think of Amarillo 10 years from now, what do you hope for?
I hope for a fully revitalized downtown with residential living that is affordable. I do believe the downtown of Amarillo could be super vibrant if you could put some residential living in it. But let me expand that to the whole Panhandle and say I'd like to see all these towns, these small towns, revitalized and full of little homes and shops and people, plus the family farms and ranches surrounding.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Yeah. Other than wind, what does this area have too much of?
I don't mind the wind here.
You don't?
I don't think there's too much wind.
Okay.
I grew up in Houston where if it was windy, there was a hurricane. I do not mind the wind here, and I will say that I could not think of much, I cannot think of much we have too much of that isn't a national problem. Nationally, I think we have too much outrage fueled by social media. We have too much animosity instead of acceptance, and I think that bleeds over into a wonderful place like the Panhandle, just like it does everywhere. So that's, to me, that's the only thing right now I think there's too much of.
It is hard when you see ugliness bleed into a lovely place.
It is so hard to see your home. I consider this home, last 43 years that we've been married.
You've earned it.
I just think it's terrible.
Yeah. What does this area not have enough of?
You know, I am working on that. We need more Democrats. We need more people to say they're Democrats. And we need a good 2-party system where you have good candidates in both parties and people are willing to say, oh, you're a Democrat? Okay, let's have a discussion about the ideas. I think we just need more political engagement in a positive way from both sides. And the only other thing I'd say about not enough of, we need to be careful about our water. If we're not careful, we will not have enough water. So, but that's a big subject.
Yeah. That a lot of people are looking at, which is good. What is your favorite local building?
I first worked in the Fisk building, which is now the courtyard. Such a great building. And loved the Potter County Courthouse, also great. In Amarillo right now, my favorite building, if it's a building, is Hodgetown, because I think it is a fabulous structure that is just a jewel for us. And every time I'm in it, I'm just super happy.
It's beautiful.
It's wonderful.
I'm not even a sports person, and it's like a beautiful, so I don't have like an inherent appreciation for ballparks, but like it is a beautiful ballpark.
It's fabulous. And in Claude, the Citizens Bank building, if you're just passing through Claude, you should go in there because it is fabulous.
Okay. Favorite local restaurant?
Nomad Napolitana on Polk Street. If you have not been there for pizza, it's not just the pizza, it's also the people, because the staff is so cool. I also love Six Car. And in Armstrong County, in Claude, Lupitas for Mexican.
I love a Lupitas. How do you describe Amarillo to people outside the area?
It is friendly. It's easy to navigate. It's a great place to live. The quality and pace of life is perfect.
Yeah.
The same is true for, I think, a lot of the Panhandle.
Yeah.
Quality and pace of life.
Pace of life. Our lives are so busy, and we live in a not busy place.
Can you imagine?
No,
if you lived in a place where the pace of life was so frenetic, frantic, how hard it would be.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the most underrated aspect of living here?
You're going to laugh at this. It's our weather. I think our weather is underrated. I tell you, I think seasons are great, and we have wonderful seasons, and occasionally we have tremendous excitement with weather.
That's a lovely way to put that.
So I think it's underrated. I mean, I think it's a big draw.
I'm with you on that. I have colleagues that I work with in my day job all across the state. And so we commonly are on Zooms for people literally all across the state of Texas. And more than a couple of times, it's been like, man, Skylar, it looks lovely up there. You know, whether it's a lovely blanket of snow or like fall, which still exists here. But like there's a lot of other people. And I love the state of Texas. But I'm with you on the weather thing.
I do. I think, and also when I'm on a lot of those Zooms too, and people will say, wow, what is it doing up there? We read about it. It's always something you can talk about when conversation falters.
That's a very, very gracious way to describe that. When was the last time you went to Palo Duro Canyon?
This past spring in May, my sister from Houston and her husband came up, and Tad and I took them to Palo Duro Canyon. And we had a great time. We hiked the Kiowa Trail and spent a great day in the canyon. We also ended up at the Sad Monkey Mercantile, which is
wonderful.
A wonderful addition.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that concludes the 8 straight questions. I like to finish up these wonderful conversations by asking my guest to endorse something. What would you endorse?
I'm going to endorse something in Armstrong County that some people may not know about.
Okay.
A man named Will Hamblin lived on the south side of Palo Duro Canyon. And back when he lived there, 1800s, you know, up through the 1900s, to get to Claude in the same county, you had to go around the Palo Duro Canyon. It took days.
Sure.
He had the idea, we need a highway through the canyon. And so he started with buffalo trails, and he worked on it. And after many years and lots of effort, the highway through Palo Duro Canyon that runs through Armstrong County was finally where you could travel it by horse or wagon, and eventually became part of the state highway system. It is Highway 207. And it runs through Palo Duro Canyon, straight south from Claude, and if you have never driven it, it is the most breathtaking view you cannot imagine until you have done it. So I think a lot of people never have taken the drive through that highway. It's now called the Will Hamblin Highway.
Oh, cool.
And he still has family living in Armstrong County.
Wow.
And it's just such a testament to a person's vision and perseverance that I would endorse if people have never seen it, they should start at one end, drive through it, and turn around and drive back through it the other way because the views are spectacular.
Lovely. That's a great one.
Great.
Sonya, thank you so much.
I have enjoyed my time with you so much. Thanks, Skylar.
Yes, ma'am. If you're starting or growing a small business and need some cash, let me tell you about Amarillo Venture Capital. They are a Hey Amarillo sponsor. They're locally owned, and what makes them different is they don't just invest in businesses. They invest in people. Whether you need $5,000 or $50,000, they offer flexible, asset-based loans, often with funding in a week or less. And it's not just the money. They can connect you with their local network of legal, accounting, and business resources to help you succeed. Check them out at amarilloventurecapital.com. That concludes this episode. Thanks to Sonya for the interview, and the Amarillo Symphony and Venture Capital for supporting this podcast. Thank you to Angelina Marie for editing every week. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, visit heyamarillo.com. Thanks for listening. This has been episode 416 of Hey Amarillo. My name's Skylar Gallup, and we hope to see you next week.